In the grim darkness of the 41st millennia, few names resonate through the Imperium with the weight and gravitas of Cato Sicarius. Now serving as commander of the Victrix Honour Guard under Primarch Roboute Guilliman himself, Sicarius has walked a path from company captain to elite bodyguard commander. Among his many titles are Master of the Watch, Knight Champion of Macragge, Grand Duke of Talisar, and High Suzerain of Ultramar. His story embodies both the pinnacle of Space Marine excellence and the complex contradictions inherent in the Imperium's greatest warriors. To understand Cato Sicarius is to understand the Ultramarines themselves. Their strict adherence to doctrine, their military precision, and their absolute conviction in their superiority. Yet Sicarius also represents something more. The dangerous edge where confidence becomes arrogance, where excellence breeds entitlement, and where the line between hero and hubris grows perilously thin. His journey from ambitious captain to humbled survivor to trusted commander of the Primarch's elite guard tells a story of pride, loss, and redemption. Cato Sicarius was born on the world of Talisar, one of the noble recruitment worlds of Ultramar, into one of the world's most prestigious houses. Even before his transformation into a space marine, the young Sicarius displayed the qualities that would define his career: tactical acumen, physical prowess, and an unshakable belief in his own abilities. From the moment he could grip a sword, he was trained in the martial arts common to the Talasi nobility, excelling in every discipline. His ascension through the ranks of the Ultramarines was meteoric, even by the standards of the Adeptus Astartes. Upon becoming a full battle brother, Sicarius quickly distinguished himself in numerous campaigns. He served as an assault marine in the 8th Company during the Damocles Crusade against the Tau Empire, where his cold, ruthless, and tactical brilliance first became apparent. His adherence to the Codex Astartes was impeccable. He could quote chapter and verse from Roboute Guilliman's sacred text, applying its wisdom with surgical precision in combat. This mastery of doctrine, combined with his natural leadership abilities and combat excellence, marked him as a future captain from early in his career. His rise was not merely a matter of survival or competence. Sicarius actively sought glory, pursuing the most dangerous assignments and volunteering for missions that would showcase his abilities. This hunger for recognition and honor would become both his greatest strength and his most glaring flaw. Sicarius was promoted to captain of the 2nd Company after Captain Demetrian Titus was taken by Inquisitor Jerome Thrax following the invasion of Graea. This promotion placed Sicarius in command of one of the most prestigious positions in the entire Ultramarines chapter. The 2nd Company traditionally serves as the chapter's mobile reserve, responding to threats across Ultramar and beyond. The role of its captain carries the additional title of Master of the Watch, responsible for the defense of the fortress of Hera on Macragge itself. This position placed Sicarius in a unique political position within the chapter. He commanded not only one of the most veteran companies, but also held significant authority in the defense of the Ultramarines' homeworld. For a warrior as ambitious as Sicarius, this was both validation and platform, a stage for which to prove himself worthy of even greater honors, perhaps even the position of chapter master itself. Under his leadership, the 2nd Company maintained its reputation for excellence. Sicarius drove his warriors hard, demanding perfection in every engagement. His company became known for the textbook perfect operations, executing Codex-approved tactics with machine-like precision. Veterans spoke of how Sicarius would drill his men on Codex doctrine until they could recite tactical formations in their sleep. One of Sicarius's most defining campaigns came during the Damnos incident, when the icy mining world of Damnos came under attack by the Necrons of the Sautek dynasty. The emergence of these ancient Xenos threatened not only the planet, but potentially all of Ultramar. Chapter Master Marnius Calgar dispatched Sicarius and the 2nd Company to deal with the threat. What should have been a straightforward Xenos purge became a protracted and costly campaign. The Necrons, led by Overlord Tolhulk the Blinded, proved far more formidable than anticipated. Their technology and ability to phase out of existence when damaged made conventional tactics nearly useless. For once, the Codex Astartes provided no easy answers. Sicarius found himself in an impossible situation. His pride demanded victory, yet the enemy was unlike anything he had faced. The campaign dragged on, with mounting casualties among his brothers. Some whispered that his refusal to withdraw earlier cost unnecessary lives, that his pride would not allow him to admit the situation was beyond his capability. His aggressive strategies during the Damnos campaign would be criticized by some of his peers, most notably Captain Guilliman of the First Company, and the losses would haunt Sicarius for years to come. Eventually, Damnos was declared lost, and the Ultramarines withdrew. For Sicarius, this was a bitter pill, not quite a defeat, but certainly not the glorious victory he had envisioned. Years later, when the Ultramarines returned to Damnos with greater force and successfully reclaimed the world, Sicarius was vindicated, crushing the Necrons and banishing a Catan shard, yet the memory of the initial withdrawal lingered. Sicarius distinguished himself greatly during the reclamation of Black Reach from the Orc Wa of Warlord Zanzag. This campaign showcased everything that made Sicarius a formidable commander. His tactical planning was flawless, his execution precise, and his personal combat prowess devastating. The entire Second Company stood against 10,000 orcs, fighting until their ammunition ran dry, and then continuing with blade and fist until the last greenskin fell. Sicarius personally slew Warlord Zanzag in single combat. The operation to retake Black Reach became a textbook example of Space Marine warfare. Sicarius coordinated with multiple chapter elements, orbital strikes, and even Imperial Guard regiments to execute a multi-phase campaign that systematically dismantled the Orc presence. His after-action reports were so detailed and exemplary that they were added to the Ultramarines archives as teaching materials. It was during this campaign that Sicarius truly earned his reputation as a master of warfare. His ability to predict enemy movements, allocate resources efficiently, and adapt to changing battlefield conditions demonstrated why he commanded such a prestigious position. The victory at Black Reach silenced many of his critics and cemented his status as one of the chapter's most capable captains. Sicarius' career as a company captain was marked by countless victories. After taking command, his first actions took place in the Dantero campaign, where he used unexpected tactics and a score of Land Raider Prometheus vehicles to defeat the Eldar army ravaging Masali's population. During his various military campaigns, Sicarius gained many honors, including the Imperial Laurel after the Crusat Minor Planet Strike, the Honorifica Valorum after the Battle of Dizanir, and the Valor Crest after a 9-day battle at Fort Telendrar. When Ultramar itself came under threat from various Xenos incursions and heretic raiders, Sicarius proved his worth as a defender of his realm. Time and again he led rapid response forces to threatened worlds, arriving just in time to turn the tide of battle. His reputation grew not just as a conqueror, but as a guardian of Guilliman's legacy. Despite his arrogance and hunger for glory, when the worlds of his homeworld called for aid, he responded with absolute dedication. Cato Sicarius is defined by his pride. This is not mere arrogance or empty boasting. His pride is earned through countless victories, flawless execution of Codex doctrine, and genuine martial excellence. He is, by any objective measure, one of the finest warriors the Ultramarines have ever produced. The problem is that Sicarius knows this, and he wants everyone else to know it too. His titles alone speak to his accomplishments. Knight Champion of Macragge, Grand Duke of Talisar, High Suzerain of Ultramar. Each was earned through blood and valor, yet Sicarius ensures that these titles are announced whenever he enters a room, speaks at a war council, or addresses his subordinates. Some see this as proper respect for rank and achievement, others view it as insufferable vanity. The captain's pride extends to his appearance and equipment. His armor is immaculately maintained, decorated with honors and purity seals. His weapons are relics of the chapter, given to him in recognition of his deeds. Even his bearing radiates confidence and authority. Some might say too much of both. In the community of Warhammer 40k fans, this has become the source of endless jokes about him introducing himself as I, Cato Sicarius, and listing his achievements at every opportunity. If there is one thing that defines Sicarius beyond his pride, it is his absolute unwavering devotion to the Codex Astartes. For Sicarius, the Codex is not merely a tactical guide. It is a holy writ, the word of the Primarch Roboute Guilliman himself. To deviate from the Codex is not just tactical heresy, it is spiritual betrayal. This devotion makes Sicarius both incredibly effective and frustratingly rigid. In situations where Codex-approved tactics apply, he is nearly unstoppable. His ability to recall and apply the appropriate doctrine for any situation is uncanny. However, when faced with situations that fall outside the Codex's guidance, Sicarius can struggle to adapt. His mind, so perfectly trained in one form of warfare, sometimes fails to see alternatives. This rigidity has caused tension with other Space Marine chapters and even within the Ultramarines themselves. Sicarius has little patience for those who deviate from proper Codex doctrine, viewing such deviations as signs of inferior thinking or worse. The irony that his own adherence to doctrine might itself be a form of pride is lost on him. At least it was until his ordeal in the warp forced him to confront some uncomfortable truths. Sicarius' ambition has never been a secret. During his time as captain of the Second Company, he desired to become chapter master of the Ultramarines, to follow in the footsteps of legends like Marneus Calgar and ultimately Roboute Guilliman himself. This ambition drove him to seek ever greater glories, to prove himself worthy of command over the entire chapter. This ambition created rivalry within the chapter, particularly with Uriel Victrix, former captain of the Fourth Company. Victrix represents everything Sicarius both respects and disdains. A capable warrior who has achieved great victories, but one who has bent or broken the Codex when he deemed it necessary. Their relationship is complex. Professional respect mixed with personal tension, mutual recognition of ability tempered by philosophical disagreement. The rivalry extended beyond tactics and glory. Both were seen as potential successors to Calgar whenever the legendary chapter master should fall or ascend to another role. This unspoken competition drove both Marines to greater achievements, but it also created friction within the command structure. The tension was exacerbated by the fact that, according to the Codex Astartes, it is typically the first captain who succeeds to the position of chapter master, yet many believe Sicarius was the more likely heir, much to First Captain Agamon's displeasure. Perhaps the most transformative period in Sicarius' long career came at the start of the Indominus Crusade. Guilliman, fearing for the safety of Ultramar due to the formation of the Great Rift, dispatched Sicarius from Terra to safeguard his realm. Sicarius' fleet, dubbed the Fleet Avenger, consisted of the first Primaris Space Marines of the Ultramarines. However, while en route to Ultramar, the fleet encountered severe warp storms on a scale not seen since the Age of Strife. During the chaos, Sicarius ordered each ship to make its own way to Macragge. Aboard his strike cruiser, Emperor's Will, disaster struck when the Astronomicon malfunctioned. The last known message from the vessel before it was lost in the warp was chilling. "They have breached the hull. They are here." Sicarius was declared missing by the Ultramarines, and Captain Acheron assumed leadership of the Second Company. Stranded in the warp, Sicarius and the crew of the Emperor's Will endured waves of demonic incursions and raids by Chaos Space Marines. For a warrior like Sicarius, who had built his entire identity on Codex perfection and rational military doctrine, the warp represented a nightmare beyond comprehension. They endured this nightmarish situation for nearly 5 years of subjective time, with most of the mortal crew dying or going insane and the warriors losing nearly all of their ammunition. Time in the warp is meaningless, and reality itself becomes fluid. Sicarius and his brothers fought not just demonic entities but the very fabric of unreality. They witnessed horrors that would break lesser minds, faced temptations designed specifically to exploit their weaknesses. For Sicarius, the demons whispered of greater glory, of recognition beyond anything the Imperium could offer, of power that would make him not just chapter master, but something far greater. Desperate, Sicarius ordered the Emperor's Will to translate back to the Materium. They found themselves over a feudal world, with a human population unaware of the greater Imperium. The locals had been fighting feral orcs for centuries. Wishing not to create panic, Sicarius and his warriors identified themselves as knights from the lands of Macragge. He discovered that the city's ruler was a Necron slave controlled by mind-shackle scarabs, though the locals were oblivious to the Xenos threat. After defeating both the Orcs and the Necron infiltrators, Sicarius allowed his remembrancer friend, Videa, and several other mortals who wished to stay behind to remain on the world. When Sicarius finally emerged from the warp and returned to the Imperial space, he was changed. The experience had scarred him in ways both visible and invisible. Physically, he bore new wounds and his armor showed the marks of battle against impossible foes. Psychologically, he had seen beyond the veil of reality and understood the true nature of the threats facing humanity. He suffered from survivor's guilt and a degree of mental trauma from his experiences. Some who knew him before claimed he was humbled by the experience, that his pride had been tempered by exposure to forces beyond any individual's ability to defeat. Others saw no change at all, arguing that Sicarius merely added Survivor of the Warp to his list of accomplishments. The truth likely lies somewhere in between. What is certain is that Sicarius returned with a deeper understanding of chaos and its dangers. His devotion to the Codex remained absolute, but now it was reinforced by direct experience of why such order and discipline are necessary. The Warp had shown him the alternative to Guilliman's rational doctrine: pure chaos and madness. Upon his return, Sicarius eventually joined Lord Commander Guilliman's Indominus Crusade. The return of Roboute Guilliman had already changed everything for the Ultramarines and for Sicarius personally. Here was the Primarch himself, the author of the Codex Astartes, returned after 10,000 years. For a warrior who devoted his entire existence to following Guilliman's teachings, this was a moment beyond anything he could have imagined. Guilliman's reaction to Sicarius was complex. The Primarch recognized both the captain's excellence and his flaws. Here was a warrior who embodied both the best and worst of what the Codex had produced. Perfect execution of doctrine, but sometimes lacking in adaptability. However, Guilliman also saw something else in Sicarius. The stubborn captain reminded him of Aeonid Thiel, the legendary sergeant who had once dared to think the unthinkable during the Horus Heresy. As the Crusade fought to save the worlds within the Dark Imperium, Guilliman took Sicarius under his personal guidance. The Primarch spent considerable time trying to form Sicarius into something other than merely an exemplary warrior. Serving directly under the Primarch's command forced Sicarius to confront some uncomfortable truths. He witnessed Guilliman making tactical decisions that deviated from strict Codex doctrine, adapting to situations in ways the written word could not anticipate. This should have been heretical to Sicarius' worldview, yet it came from the Codex's own author. During the Terran Crusade, Guilliman made a significant decision. He personally selected Sicarius to command the newly reformed Victrix Honour Guard, the elite bodyguard formation originally founded by the Primarch himself. Despite suffering from survivor's guilt and mental trauma from his time in the Warp, Sicarius was entrusted with protecting the Primarch and serving as both bodyguard and diplomatic envoy. After the Terran Crusade concluded, Guilliman made Sicarius' command of the Victrix Honour Guard permanent. If Sicarius' pride was wounded by the loss of his second company command, the captain never showed it. In reality, Guilliman had recognized that a warrior such as Sicarius possessed skills the chapter could ill afford to lose. Sicarius had demonstrated that he was an exemplary soldier and a daring, if sometimes reckless, commander. By appointing him to lead the Victrix Honour Guard, Guilliman hoped to provide the captain with a new direction for his considerable talents. The Victrix Honour Guard is composed of veteran Ultramarines, recognized for their fearless approach to battle and their ability to defeat entire armies. These elite warriors serve as the Primarch's personal bodyguard, a role of immense honor and responsibility. For Sicarius, this appointment represents both a recognition of his abilities and a chance at redemption. Led by Sicarius, a master swordsman and tactical genius, the Victrix Honour Guard has become one of the most formidable fighting formations in the entire Imperium. Sicarius has thrown himself into his new position with characteristic gusto. Through it, he hopes to lay to rest the specters of his past, find new purpose beyond his earlier ambitions, and benefit from the full gamut of his Primarch's boundless wisdom. The experience has begun a slow evolution in his thinking. He remains devoted to the Codex, but perhaps he has begun to understand it differently, not as a rigid set of rules, but as Guilliman intended it, a foundation upon which to build tactical excellence. As commander of the Victrix Honour Guard, Sicarius has played a key role in numerous battles during the Indominus Crusade and the Plague Wars. During the Pariah Crusade's Battle of Mesmach, Sicarius fought to protect Guilliman as they sought to escape from the ruined Dawn of Fire and evade Necron capture. His tactical brilliance and personal combat prowess have proved invaluable to the Primarch's campaigns. In this role, Sicarius has found a purpose that transcends his earlier ambitions for the position of Chapter Master. He serves as the right hand of the Primarch himself, a position few Space Marines in 10,000 years have held. While he may no longer command a full company, he leads some of the finest warriors in the chapter, and stands as the last line of defense for Roboute Guilliman. For a warrior as proud as Sicarius, there is perhaps no greater honor. Sicarius wields the Talisarian Tempest Blade, a master-crafted power sword that has become as much a symbol of his authority as his rank. This weapon has tasted the blood of countless enemies of the Imperium, from Orc war bosses to Necron overlords to Chaos champions. Its blade is inscribed with oaths of moment and purity seals, each representing a victory or vow fulfilled. The sword is not merely a weapon, but an extension of Sicarius' will. He has trained with it for so long that it feels weightless in his hand, moving with preternatural speed and precision. The blade can be wielded in multiple combat styles, optimized for fighting hordes of lesser foes, hardened for striking at heavily armored targets, or refined for precision dueling against enemy champions. Combined with his transhumant reflexes and centuries of combat experience, the Tempest Blade makes Sicarius one of the finest duelists in the Imperium. In his left hand, Sicarius carries a plasma pistol, a rare and powerful weapon that he wields with practiced ease. The plasma pistol provides him with ranged killing power against heavily armored foes, complementing his close combat prowess. He has mastered the weapon's temperamental nature, knowing exactly how far he can push its power output without risking a catastrophic overload. His armor is a masterwork of the Ultramarines artificers, now upgraded to Mark X Tacticus plate befitting his station. It is decorated with the honors and achievements of his long service, including the mantle of the Suzerain with its symbols of his office and heritage. Every purity seal, every service stud, every campaign badge tells a story of victory. The armor has been damaged and repaired countless times, each repair adding to its history. It bears the scars of his ordeal in the warp, and the marks of battles fought in the Primarch service. Meme status and community perception. Within the Warhammer 40k community, Cato Sicarius has achieved an unusual status. He is simultaneously respected as a powerful character and mocked as an example of excessive pride. His reputation for glory-seeking and his abundance of titles have made him the subject of countless jokes and memes among fans. The catchphrase, "I, Cato Sicarius," has become synonymous with over-the-top self-aggrandizement in the 40k community. The community often portrays Sicarius as insufferably arrogant, constantly reminding everyone of his achievements and titles. Jokes about him introducing himself with increasingly long lists of honors or claiming credit for victories he had minimal involvement in are common. This reputation is not entirely unfair. Games Workshop's own portrayal of the character has emphasized his pride and ambition, sometimes to comedic effect. However, this meme status has also given Sicarius unexpected staying power in the community consciousness. While other Space Marine characters might be more powerful or significant to the plot, few are as immediately recognizable or generate as much discussion. In a strange way, being the arrogant Ultramarine captain has made him more memorable than being just another noble warrior. Recent lore developments, particularly his ordeal in the Warp and his new role under Guilliman, have added depth to the character that has begun to shift community perception. Beyond the memes, Sicarius serves as an important thematic role in the Warhammer 40k narrative. He represents the danger of dogmatic thinking, even when the dogma is ostensibly good. His unwavering devotion to the Codex Astartes shows both the strength and weakness of rigid adherence to doctrine. In a universe of constant chaos and change, Sicarius was the warrior who clung to order perhaps too tightly, until his experiences forced him to evolve. He also embodies the complex relationship between excellence and ego. Sicarius is generally one of the finest warriors in the Ultramarines, yet his need for recognition and glory sometimes undermine his effectiveness. This creates interesting character tension. He wanted to be remembered as a great hero, but his very desire for glory could make him seem less heroic. His journey from ambitious captain to humbled survivor to trusted commander represent a character arc of growth and redemption. Furthermore, Sicarius represents the challenge facing the Imperium in the modern era. He is a product of 10,000 years of stagnation, of doctrine becoming dogma, of the Primarch's teachings being worshipped rather than understood. Guilliman's return and his mentorship of Sicarius forced the character to confront the gap between what he believed the Imperium should be and what it has become. In guiding Sicarius toward a broader understanding of the Codex, Guilliman offers hope that even the most rigid minds can grow and adapt. Now let's go through some of Sicarius' relationships with other characters. Marneus Calgar. Sicarius' relationship with Chapter Master Marneus Calgar have always been one of respect mixed with ambition. Calgar is everything Sicarius once aspired to become, a legendary warrior who commands the entire chapter and is trusted by the Primarch himself. During his time as a company captain, Sicarius studied Calgar's every decision, seeking to learn from the master while simultaneously positioning himself as a worthy successor. Calgar, for his part, recognized both Sicarius' talents and his flaws. He trusted the captain with critical missions and important commands, but he was also aware of the pride that drove him. There was an unspoken understanding that Sicarius sought to inherit Calgar's position, though the young captain would become notably defensive if anyone suggested that he was actively gunning for the role. Now that Sicarius serves in a different capacity under Guilliman, the relationship has evolved into one of mutual respect between Chapter Master and the commander of the Primarch's Guard. Uriel Ventress. The dynamic between Sicarius and Uriel Ventress remains one of the most interesting relationships in modern Ultramarines lore. Ventress, former captain of the 4th Company, represents an alternative approach to Space Marine warfare, one that respects the Codex but is willing to bend its rules when circumstances demand it. The rivalry between them has deep roots, complicated by the death of Captain Idaeus, who was both a friend to Sicarius and mentor to Ventress. Sicarius views Ventress with a mixture of respect and lingering resentment. He acknowledges Ventress' combat record and leadership abilities, but struggles with the other captain's willingness to deviate from proper doctrine. During Ventress' trial for his actions on Tarsus Ultra, Sicarius' apparent smugness was driven partly by his loyalty to Idaeus and his belief that Ventress bore responsibility for that captain's death. Their rivalry is professional rather than personal, but is a rivalry nonetheless. Both were once seen as potential future chapter masters, and their different philosophies represent competing visions for the Ultramarines' future. Interestingly, Ventress' willingness to think outside the Codex has sometimes proven more effective than Sicarius' rigid approach, a fact that challenges Sicarius' worldview in uncomfortable ways. With Sicarius now serving in the Victrix Honour Guard, the dynamic has shifted, though the philosophical differences remain. Roboute Guilliman. Sicarius' relationship with returned Primarch is complex and evolving. On one level, Guilliman is everything Sicarius has been raised to revere: the Gene Father, the Avenging Son, the author of the Codex Astartes itself. Meeting Guilliman in person and serving directly under his command is, for Sicarius, both a dream fulfilled and a constant challenge. However, Guilliman's actual opinions and decisions sometimes challenge Sicarius' understanding of what the Primarch should be. Guilliman is pragmatic where Sicarius is dogmatic, adaptive where Sicarius is rigid. The Primarch sees the Codex as a tool, not scripture, and this perspective forces Sicarius to reconsider his own relationship with Guilliman's teachings. The fact that Guilliman sees echoes of Aenid Thiel in Sicarius is significant. Thiel was a warrior who dared to think heretical thoughts for the good of the Legion. Despite this tension, Guilliman clearly values Sicarius. The Primarch has entrusted him with command of the Victrix Honour Guard, one of the most critical positions in the entire crusade. Guilliman may not approve of all of Sicarius' attitudes, but he respects the captain's dedication, tactical brilliance, and loyalty. In turn, Sicarius is slowly learning to understand Guilliman not as an abstract ideal, but as an actual leader with his own perspectives and wisdom. Through their relationship, Sicarius is being mentored and shaped into something greater than he was, a warrior who combines doctrinal excellence with the flexibility to adapt when necessary. Severus Agamen. The relationship between Sicarius and First Captain Severus Agamen has long been complicated. Agamen currently holds the rank of First Captain and serves as Regent of Ultramar, positions that traditionally lead to succession as Chapter Master. According to Codex Doctrine, the First Captain is typically chosen successor to the Chapter Master. However, many within the chapter believed Sicarius to be the more likely heir, creating an awkward political situation. Agamen was among those who criticized Sicarius' aggressive strategies during the Damnos campaign, believing that the younger captain's recklessness would lead him to ruin. The fact that Agamen was promoted to First Captain from the Second Company, the position Sicarius would later inherit, adds another layer to their dynamic. Now that Sicarius serves as commander of the Victrix Honour Guard rather than as company captain, the nature of their rivalry has shifted, though the underlying tensions about succession and philosophy remain. Sicarius' journey has taken him from ambitious company captain to the commander of the Primarch's personal guard. His earlier dreams of becoming chapter master have evolved into something different, a role of profound importance that transcends company command. As leader of the Victrix Honour Guard, he serves as the right hand of Roboute Guilliman himself, a position that few Space Marines in the history of the Imperium have held. The question of who will eventually succeed Marneus Calgar as chapter master remains unanswered, and with Sicarius now in a different role, his path to that position is less clear. However, his current position may be more significant than any company command. He protects the Primarch, serves as both bodyguard and diplomatic envoy, and leads some of the finest warriors the chapter has ever produced. For a warrior as proud as Sicarius, there is perhaps no greater validation than being personally selected by Guilliman for such a critical role. Recent lore has shown genuine growth in Sicarius' character. His ordeal in the warp, his service under Guilliman, and his new responsibilities have all contributed to a gradual evolution. While he remains proud and devoted to the Codex, there are signs of greater depth and self-awareness emerging. He has learned humility through suffering, gained wisdom through defeat, and found purpose through service to the Primarch. The question is whether this evolution will continue and how far it will go. Can a warrior so defined by his devotion to doctrine ever truly become flexible? Or will Sicarius find a middle path, maintaining his excellence in Codex warfare while developing the adaptability that Guilliman seeks to teach him? The Primarch's investment in shaping Sicarius suggests that he sees potential for the captain to become something more than merely an exemplary warrior. Games Workshop has positioned Sicarius as a character capable of growth and redemption. His journey from arrogant captain to humbled survivor to trusted commander of the Victrix Honour Guard represents a character arc that adds depth to the Ultramarines narrative. Whether he eventually returns to company command, ascends to chapter master, or continues to serve the Primarch in his current capacity, Sicarius' story is far from over. Cato Sicarius remains a character of paradoxes. He is genuinely one of the finest warriors in the Ultramarines, yet his pride once threatened to undermine his effectiveness. He is absolutely devoted to the Codex Astartes, yet has learned that the true understanding of Guilliman's work requires flexibility. He was ambitious and glory-seeking, yet when given a role of genuine importance, he has served with dedication and humility. In many ways, Sicarius embodies the journey of the Imperium itself in the era of the Indominus Crusade. Like the Imperium, he was trapped in rigid dogma and suffered for it. Like the Imperium, he faced horrors that tested everything he believed. Like the Imperium, he has been given a chance at redemption and renewal through the return of Roboute Guilliman. His story is one of pride, loss, suffering, and ultimately growth, a very human tale set against the backdrop of humanity's darkest future. For fans and lore enthusiasts, Sicarius offers a rich character to analyze. He is neither pure hero nor villain, but something more interesting, a genuinely capable warrior whose flaws are inseparable from his strengths, and who has been given the opportunity to transcend his limitations. His evolution from company captain to commander of the Victrix Honour Guard represents not a demotion but a transformation, a chance to serve the Primarch directly and benefit from Guilliman's personal mentorship. Whether leading the Victrix Honour Guard in defense of Guilliman, fighting in the Plague Wars, or facing threats in the Dark Imperium, Cato Sicarius remains one of the most distinctive characters in the Warhammer 40k universe. He is I, Cato Sicarius, Knight Champion of Macragge, Grand Duke of Talisar, High Suzerain of Ultramar, Master of the Watch, and Commander of the Victrix Honour Guard, and he serves at the right hand of the Primarch himself. His journey from Rising Star through the trials of command, the horrors of the warp, and ultimately to his position as Commander of the Victrix Honour Guard demonstrates both the grandeur and the limitations of the Imperium's greatest warriors. In Sicarius we see reflected the entire philosophy of the Ultramarines, their discipline, their pride, their unwavering faith in doctrine, and their capacity for growth when guided by the wisdom of their Primarch. The character's evolution from the meme-worthy arrogant captain to a more nuanced warrior seeking redemption and purpose shows Games Workshop's commitment to developing their characters beyond simple archetypes. Sicarius' story is ultimately one of second chances, of a proud warrior learning humility through suffering and finding greater purpose through service. We march for Macragge, for the Primarch, for the Imperium.